Hello friends, today I'm going to show you how to make a sauerkraut with apples and sumac. Sumac is a wonderful tasting herb that's also known as za'atar seasoning. We're going to be using Celtic sea salt as the salt, except no other. So let's begin. First thing we need to do is cut our cabbage. One way to cut your cabbage is to make these nice little fingers in the cabbage. What these are going to do is help make those nice small little bits that are tasty and bite size. The more we cut our cabbage to a uniform consistency, the faster and more regularly the fermentation process is going to happen. So as you can see, we just continue through the cabbage. Cutting it into nice bite-sized pieces also makes it easy to serve. From recipe to recipe, you're going to find that making the cabbage a uniform size is a quality control. If you want to make large gardenier-sized chunks, that's also delicious. But just make sure that all of your other size pieces of cabbage are also gardenier-sized. A good knife is always useful when cutting cabbage. In this instance, I'm using a 14-inch Wüsthof, which is the best. German knives have high-quality steel and is actually stainless, and it does not rust. So we're getting there, friends, I promise. Making sure our cuts are nice and even is really the goal to a tasty and repeatable sauerkraut. So now let's put it into our bowl. In our method, which is to fill our jar with cabbage twice. Give it a shake once and twice. I've obviously made way too much, but that's okay. We'll save it for later today. So the salt that we're using, again, Celtic sea salt, only buy the best. And we are going to use 1 flat and 1/2 tablespoon like that. Or we can break out the teaspoon, and that's what it looks like. So just those two options. So we'll mix that up. Give it some squeezes. Get that salt spread around. Give it some squeezing. Not too much, but just enough to really coat it good and make sure that all the salt is on the cabbage. You can see the glisten a little. That'll get better. So now we're going to take an apple. We're going to take our seasoning. First thing we want to do is remove that we don't want from the apple. Seeds won't hurt you, but we'll just remove them for quality, right? So everything on sumac, the plant, can be used. And like I said, you can also purchase it ready-made. This is a local company, Well Seasoned Table. I highly recommend you check them out, wellseasonedtable.com. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our apple and we're going to put it on the seasoning so it doesn't get away as we're cutting it. You know how those little berries love to run away. Well, this helps keep them in one place. And what we're going to do is we're going to just dice it all together like this. Just keep dicing it together like that. The berries soften during fermentation and become quite tasty and soft. They're really tasty. they have a lot of salic acid in them, and that's very good for you. It's very good for your digestion. Traditionally, sumac seasoning is a Persian spice, but the tree grows locally in the southern regions of the United States. You can pick it in the fall, and right now it's making berries. So there we go. Our apples are done just right. Now that's more plant matter, and that's roughly a teaspoon's worth. So 1 apple, that seasoning, we're going to put an additional teaspoon for a total of 1 full teaspoon or tablespoon and 2 teaspoons. 1, 2. All right, and then we mix that up. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to wait about 15 minutes, and we're going to come back to this, and I'm going to show you guys how to pack it in the jar with the jelly. And so, friends, we return about 15 minutes later, and let's see what we got. So we can see that there's plenty of juice in the bottom now. The cabbage is very glossy and ready to pack. I used a lot of salt. 1 tablespoon plus 2 teaspoons is the most, friends, the most you should ever need to use for this recipe. So in the future, you can take that down more to the average of a tablespoon. 1 tablespoon will usually be just fine. I wanted to show you how much you can put in there because a little more salt actually helps you get your recipe to succeed that first time. And you'll find that over time, like I say, over time, you will be able to reduce the amount of salt. But we want to start a little high because that ensures success. And nothing makes you want to ferment again like getting it right the first time, even if it is a hair salty. We can live with that, right? Just a pinch salty. Maybe we won't put salt on what else we're eating, and we'll just have that. So what we're doing here is packing our sauerkraut into the jar and making sure that the brine comes up with the cabbage. I know I'm losing a few pieces, but we want to get through the video too. And you want to get to your recipe, I hope. All right, so we look pretty close. So what we now do is we take our quarter pint jelly, which is a mason jar, and you get them at the store, quart mason jar, fits right in there. And you can see that that lid won't trot. So what I've got to do is take some out. So I put it back in the bowl, pack it back down, and let's see where we're at. Oh, that's getting pretty close. All right, so I'm just going to give it a few more presses with my thumb, get it packed in there, make a little divot in the center. Because what this jelly does is both hold the sauerkraut down and raise that brine so that there's no air. Do you see? Like, that's perfect. This little rim is going to prevent any cabbage from coming to the top and getting in there. So no contamination can form, no air can form, and friends, you don't need an expensive airlock lid. You just need a simple plastic lid now. You can screw it on. You don't have to burp it. That's all you've got to do. I'm tight, and then I let it off just a pinch. That's ready to go. That's ready to sit on the table and wait a few days for us to come back, and we'll give it the pH check. So hang in there and check back in a few days and we'll do the pH check. This is going to taste really good, and I hope that your first recipe with sauerkraut and fruit goes well.